Hello and welcome, friends, back to our 6-week Skillful Living program. My name is Venerable Tarpa. This is our third week and our fifth class of our program. This week, we are going to be exploring appreciation. But first, let's briefly review what we learned in last week's class. So last week, we studied happiness, and it was a great week. And that's happiness in relation to contentment and satisfaction. And that in Buddhism, we cultivate happiness through the threefold path, threefold training, which is the Buddhist path. And that is the development of higher understanding, higher virtue, and higher awareness. So when you say, well, how do you cultivate happiness in Buddhism? Well, we say the Buddhist path. The Buddhist path is our way of cultivating happiness, right? Um, and we also learn the 4 steps of acceptance, which is our method for dealing with adversities and challenges in our life. And we had the acronym PARA, which we practiced together throughout the week. That was really our main practice last week. Does anybody have any questions about last week's classes? Did you understand your daily threefold training? I think the coolest thing about the threefold training is that you're already practicing it. The very first lesson we do, we engage in higher understanding, higher virtue, and higher awareness. How about your practice of para, the 4 steps of acceptance? We had people leaving some lovely posts in our chat talking about their success more than usual. I was very happy about that. And I explained last week that it's one of those practices you have to kind of push yourself to engage. And when you start to see how successful it is, then you naturally start practicing it. But so many people just kind of push it off. I think people are waiting for some giant event to happen in their lives to practice it. Where I always mention that, it works for the littlest things, being irritated or bored, or somebody else gets a promotion at work. It works for everything. Did you enjoy the practice? Who found it helpful? Yeah, good, good, lovely. Me too. Okay, you chatterbugs, let's get going. Let's move on to today's class. So this week we are going to be studying appreciation, which is an amazing tool for cultivating happiness and joy. Engaging in appreciation generates positivity and benevolence, but more importantly, it creates great clarity and objectivity, opening both our hearts and minds, allowing us to see life clearly, helping us to realize and embrace the true wonder and miracle of our existence. Although often seen as synonymous with gratitude, there is a subtle difference where gratitude can be understood as a heartfelt thankfulness, being thankful for what's given us. Appreciation is deeper, possessing a clear understanding of the true nature of its object. For example, we can be grateful for someone's friendship, meaning to be thankful for the friendship they bring to us, to our lives. Or we can appreciate them as a friend. And at this deeper level, it's more of a acknowledging their true worth as a person and friend, right? It's not so much what they bring to us, but more who they are, their true nature. But what exactly is appreciation? So Buddhism defines appreciation as to fully understand the nature, meaning, quality, magnitude, or value of something. Boy, that's a mouthful. Let's do it again. Buddhism defines appreciation is to fully understand the nature, meaning, quality, magnitude, or value of something, right? The value of that person as your friend, right? The magnitude of a success in your life, the nature of an apple, to appreciate just how sweet and juicy it is, to appreciate meanings and things. So when we bracket the term, we begin to understand it in a much more profound way. Of course, we've all started bracketing, and I hope it's your favorite new tool. So, at deeper levels of understanding, like the qualities we've bracketed so far, like goodness and happiness, appreciation as well almost becomes this magical quality, especially in the practice of it. To look at it and define it, that's one thing. But when we start to really practice it, the benefits from it, the results from it are quite extraordinary. So let's do an example. So, one of my favorite examples is we can appreciate all kinds of things, right? And we're going to be doing that throughout the week. But a favorite example of mine is appreciating language because I do believe this is one kind of aspect of our lives that we deeply, deeply take for granted. And so let's bracket what language is. So at the deepest level, when thinking about it, we make all these funny noises with our mouth and our air, right? These grunts and groans and clicks. We make these funny noises with our mouths, and somehow we can attach meaning to them. And then what's extraordinary is somehow people can decipher these funny noises that we make, and and in a sense, what are you doing? In a sense, you're placing your thoughts in another person's mind, aren't you? Like you say, no, it's just language. No, but it really is. Language is how we we place our thoughts in other people's minds, and not just our thoughts, our emotions, right? Like when your little child comes up and whispers in your ear how much they love you. It's not just words, is it? There's a great emotion that's being transferred there, isn't it? So they feel something and they say this, and then you feel it from it, right? Think about how about through history? Every war was started with language, right? People just don't not talk about it and attack another country. There's a whole bunch of dialogue leading up to it. All the most horrible things in mankind were all started with language. And guess what? The most beautiful things were all initiated by language as well. Every war was finished by the use of language. We give up, stop shooting at us. And so when you think about language, it really becomes like so extraordinary. I can sit in a chair and just think about language, think about poetry, how it can transmit, ideas at such a deep level, emotion. How about songs? What would songs be without lyrics? And and books and humor and comedy. Think about how many emotions are transferred through language. Am I making my point? Quite extraordinary, isn't it? Everything you've ever learned, or most things you've learned, have all been learned through language. You've learned from other people, and it's quite extraordinary. It is kind of our way of reading minds, huh? Our minds, our emotions, our feelings, our intentions, our goals, our aims. We share them all with others through language, and then you can feel what I feel. Quite extraordinary. I believe one of the greatest afflictions plaguing mankind, a drumroll please, is the lack of our appreciation. That we take our lives and the things in it for granted. which blinds us to the wonder and true miracle of our existence. So, hey, I got some slides for you. I promise you a fun class. Here they come. Oh, Venerable Tarpa wrote this one. The cultivation of appreciation is one of the most profound practices because its opposite is one of the most profound afflictions. And I wholeheartedly believe that and still do. Our lack of appreciation for what we truly are creates a felt void at an existential level of our beings, something we all share, and is the cause of our ravenous thirst for more and the source of our hunger for wealth, power, and significance, right? Not appreciating what we have in our lives is the source of our greed, in other words, right? And the reason why we're not content. However, this feeling or lacking is an illusion. We are and have always been full, whole, and complete, overwhelming with value and potential. And let's do another one. Here we go. This is by Stephen Batchelor, a favorite of mine. It has taken 4 billion years of evolution to generate this kind of organism with this kind of brain, and yet we wake up in the morning and feel bored. Isn't that true? We are silly, silly beings. I think that is so true and so provocative. Oh, I have one more slide. This is an absolutely brilliant one by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master. Around us, life bursts with miracles. A glass of water, a ray of sunshine, a leaf, a caterpillar, a flower, laughter, raindrops, Ben and Jerry's ice cream. If you live in awareness, it's easy to see miracles everywhere. Each human being is a multiplicity of miracles. Eyes that see 1,000 colors, shapes, and forms, ears that can hear a bee flying or a thunderclap, thunder, a brain that ponders a speck of dust as easily as the entire cosmos, a heart that beats in rhythm with the heartbeat of all beings. When we are tired and feel discouraged by life's daily struggle, we may not notice these miracles, but they're always there. Wow, is that profound, huh? And I'm setting out to teach you that very thing this week. So, another aspect of our lack of appreciation is with the lack of appreciation for our own existence comes a lack of appreciation for others, which often then leads to hatred, violence, and injustice. I do believe that if we really appreciated our own existence and saw it for what it truly was, we would just be in awe of others' existence as well, and we wouldn't do many of the bad things we do. Some may see the cultivation of appreciation as merely some kind of form of false positivity, which we talked about, a contrived or projected happiness. Like, yeah, let's all practice appreciation and pretend to be happy, right? However, cultivating appreciation is not merely an antidote aimed at feeling happy, which it does. It's a way, maybe more importantly, a way to clearly see reality for what it really is. Meaning, through appreciation, we can see beyond our mundane, limited daily perceptions and clearly realize the wonder of our true nature and our true potential. However, it's not until we realize the full scope of our appreciation that its true brilliance becomes clear. For when we examine it closer, we see that appreciation isn't limited to just the things we value. We can also appreciate other things as well, like the magnitude of events, the raw power of a storm, or appreciate great challenges in our lives. When we appreciate the beneficial qualities we gain from difficult experiences, qualities like patience, strength, maturity, and understanding, we start to really comprehend the nature of appreciation. Um, or another example is simply appreciating others' opinions, right? Which is not something we often do, but we can recognize the uh, the benefit of that, even when we don't agree with them. So I'm making the point that appreciation isn't always appreciating the wonderful things in your life. You can appreciate things that are contrary to your own views, right? Okay, let's try a couple exercises here. I love my exercises. The book kind of lays out the textbook presentation. I like to have some fun during classes. So in this first exercise, this is an easy one. I want everybody to hold up and look at your hands. Now, in a sense, when we're appreciating, we're kind of bracketing, aren't we? Because we're trying to look at everything from fresh eyes, right? So, do we ever really appreciate these things? Aren't they extraordinary? Think about what they can do. Think about a concert violinist, a virtuoso piano player, right? How about a magician, sleight of hand? How about their ability to tickle your kids? Or a soft stroke of the cheek to bring joy to your mother, right? Hands are extraordinary, right? They could hands themselves without saying a word can bring love to another person. The Dalai Lama has a wonderful thing. He likes to put his hand on your cheek, and you could feel it. And it's such a sense of love. And he doesn't say anything. He just puts his hand on your cheek. And it's extraordinary. So yeah, aren't they amazing? Right? But we never really appreciate them, do we? We could type on the computer. How about artists, sculptors? Ah, it's extraordinary. Um, as well as yeah, so anyways, I think we deeply deeply take them for granted. Let's try another exercise. This one is called Is Appreciation Real? So in this exercise, we're going to contemplate affection for a loved one. So sitting right where you are, let's begin by closing our eyes and taking a few mindful breaths. Let's calm down a moment. Now, I'd like you to choose and focus on a very special person in your life. Doesn't matter who it is. You can even pick a pet if you want to. It could be a close friend, spouse, parent, child. Now, I want you to focus on them so deeply that you feel a felt sensation of affection at your heart. Picture them, think about what they mean to you in your life, things they've done for you, whatever you need to, but really cultivate that intense sense of affection. And you could also imagine their loss, which would also bring appreciation. Now, now see if you can generate that into a deep feeling of appreciation for that person. From that affection, let's turn that into appreciation for that person and contemplate how much you appreciate them, the beauty of their qualities, their character, their actions, an appreciation for their very being. Okay, now open your eyes. Now I have a question for you. When developing appreciation for that person, were you creating a delusion or were you uncovering truth? What do you think? You're thinking about the nice things they do, all that. You're getting an image in your mind. Are you creating something that was untrue?
No.
So remember, we defined appreciation as understanding the true nature of something. So when you did this exercise, isn't that what you were doing? You were focusing and contemplating, but you really were uncovering the true nature of the person or the relationship you have with the person, right? So in this way, you can see how appreciation uncovers the true nature. It helps us to see reality clearly. It's not something we're making up to be happy. It's something we're uncovering to show us the truth of reality, right? Oh, isn't that beautiful? Okay. So through the practice of appreciation, we can gain profound levels of clarity and understanding that lead to profound happiness and contentment. Does anybody have any questions? Are you starting to see the true nature of appreciation? Are you starting to see its value? What an extraordinary quality it is? Miss Jan, please.
Um, it to me, it's fairly easy to appreciate things that I like and things that are beautiful, but where I start having trouble is with things that are people or situations that I don't like and that aren't very loving and nice and beautiful. How do we deal with that?
You ain't kidding, boy. You get a little stomach flu. It's so hard to appreciate stomach flu. No matter how much I try, I can't appreciate those little microbes in my belly. No, some things you can't. There's a lot of horrible things in our lives we don't like and we don't appreciate, like sickness, but others you can. So you can have a difficult, challenging experience that you have to really practice some patience to get through. But then if you look at it a certain way, you can appreciate the qualities, the positive qualities that can come from it, right? That it gave you a chance to practice. It gave you a chance to stabilize your patience and your understanding. So we do the best we can, but clearly there's a whole bunch of stuff we can't appreciate. Whenever I finish a pint of Ben and Jerry's ice cream, I cannot appreciate that empty container. I am just sad. Miss Wamo?
Yes, I heard a wonderful story this morning about one of the Buddha's disciples who came and trained with him and then decided to go back to where he was from and try to bring peace to his area. And the Buddha said to him, it's a very violent place. Like, what are you going back there for? And he said, I want to try to change things. And then the Buddha said, well, what if they speak unkind words to you in profanity? He said, well, I'm just going to be glad that they're not hitting me. And then he said, well, what if they hit you? And he said, well, I'm just going to be glad they're not trying to kill me. And then he said, well, what if they try to kill you? And he was like, well, my body's impermanent and I'm going to die anyway. So it was a great story.
That's a great story. To back to Jan's point, I think we practice the two things hinged. We practice appreciation and we also practice acceptance. So some things we have to accept in life, like it or not. But then there's other things that we can appreciate. What do we appreciate? All those things that we take for granted. And we're going to teach you what those are this week. Miss Lebdrow?
I think we've talked about this one before about Thich Nhat Hanh saying, like, appreciate a non-toothache. you have a toothache, and then as soon as it's gone, you're like, oh, thank goodness, and then you sort of forget that that you're not appreciating a non-toothache. You sort of
And
take
the
it for
more
granted.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, and the more you practice appreciation, the more you see it trickles into you to all aspects of your life. Like I really do feel that way. Like when I wake up in the morning, I kind of scan myself over and I'm deeply appreciative that everything appears to be working. And so I wasn't like that when I was younger. I didn't like the toothache when I was having it, thought about how nice to be free of it, but then I didn't appreciate a non-toothache. Now I really do. So we get better at it. Yeah. Joe?
Yes, thank you. How, Tarpa, might you appreciate, or how do you best deal with whenever you appreciate somebody, yet at the same time they really annoy you and get on your nerves? So I'll give you an example. My brother does a lot for my older mother to take care of her. I really appreciate that. However, when I offer suggestions to him related to pretty much anything, he blows me off. That really irritates me. So, and in fact, it just happened before class. So, I'm a little distracted by that. But how do you best deal with that when?
We do that by understanding the mind. So rarely, the Buddha taught that one of the problems humans face is we're always caught up in this and that. Something is this or that, instead of understanding the spectrum of possibilities of experience. And so we can appreciation's one quality, but we can hold many qualities in our minds. As many of us know, as probably parents and having siblings and lovers, that we can love people and not like them at the same time, right? And so we can hold multiple feelings about people at the same time. You can appreciate your brother, you can love your brother, you could be irritated by your brother, all at the same time. The mind's quite complex. So appreciation's one quality, one tool that we use, but it sure is an effective tool for dealing with that, like things like irritation. Appreciation is probably what helps you to tolerate him. Even though he drives you crazy, you overlook it because you appreciate him for who he is.
That's a good point. Thank you. Yes.
I got lucky, Joe. Okay, let's move on, everybody. Great questions. So, today's class is a mix of study and practice. And it's because we don't have enough days to do the whole practice. So, this Awakening to Appreciation is 6 levels of practice. And so today's Sunday, so we got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're gonna start our practice class uh, tomorrow. We'll talk about it today. We'll start it tomorrow. Then we'll have 6 days. Um, this week we're engaging in a SBT practice called Awakening through Appreciation. Awakening, also termed enlightenment or liberation, is the ultimate aim of the Buddhist path. It's understood as to realize the true nature of oneself and reality. That's kind of the established definition. But what that means is is awakening to understanding who and what you truly are, understanding your environment and your reality. It's to understand how life works and how to be able to properly engage with it, right? Most everybody's really confused about life. We kind of do our best. Most of us do what everybody around us does. We kind of stumble through life, often hoping to stumble into happiness or wealth or fame. Where in Buddhism and the Skillful Living program, We believe that if you get the right knowledge and you get the right practices, you learn how to develop them. You don't have to hope to stumble into it. We can actually cultivate it and enjoy it. So that's the idea of awakening in Buddhism. The practice of awakening through appreciation uses contemplation, introspection, and mindfulness to transcend our common mundane perceptions, right? When we talk about taking everything in our lives for granted, that's how I express it. Common mundane perception. Oh yeah, gotta go to work, gotta, you don't think about the nice car you're driving, you don't think about the delicious cup of coffee. Um, and thereby revealing a clear view of reality. We can contemplate appreciation by reflecting on our good fortunes for the things we value in our lives, as well as by reflecting on the potential loss of things as well. Ultimately, the aim of this practice is to change the way you see the world fundamentally. Right now, most of us have kind of a mundane, habitual way of looking at the world, right? But we want to change that and to create a profound and lasting appreciation for yourself, your life, and your existence itself. A funny story I always tell when I first started teaching this uh, program, um, I had a dear Sangha member who still comes around sometimes. His name was Alberto. Alberto's from Tuscany and had a beautiful Italian accent. When I was in Italy, I stayed with him for quite some time. He lived right by the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And uh, and I remember we were practicing this and give the instructions. Everybody goes out, and he comes back, and I ask everybody, "How's your first day of practice?" And he says, "It's like I got a new eyes." And he talked about how he just saw everything fresh and new, like he's never seen it before, and quite extraordinary. That's what we're hoping that you'll have the same experience. But what's interesting is even now when I talk to him, he says it's never left him. He still feels that way, that it forever changed the way he perceives the world. It became part of his default mindset. So this can be an extraordinary practice, but you have to practice, right? Um, During this practice, skepticism and negativity need to be temporarily suspended. I always get a lot of pushback when I say that. For although skepticism is definitely an invaluable tool in our daily lives, keeping us safe, it's counterproductive in this practice. Remember, this week we're focusing on cultivating appreciation for the wonders in life, not cultivating frustration for all the problems and shortcomings, right? So, one of our weeks is contemplating technology, and that's the main one that people fall into, and they automatically fall into how phones are destroying our children's lives and atomic bombs and pollution and global warming. And there's no doubt all of that can be true, but this is a program, this is a practice, right? So after this week you can go back to thinking that way, but just for today I want you to think about cultivate the good things about it. And that alone shows you why we're doing this practice. Because when I offer a topic like that, people automatically go to all the negative things about technology. But are they thinking about medicine, agriculture, you know, all the wonderful things that technology does for us? Hot water, refrigerated food, clean drinking water. So that shows you right there why we're practicing appreciation. We have a problem. Okay, So as far as the practice goes, it's fairly simple, and it integrates uh, right within your normal daily activities. Super easy practice, and you can practice it everywhere. You can practice it while working, resting, driving down the road, talking to friends, feeding the kids, doesn't matter. This practice consists of 6 ever deepening levels, beginning with basic objects of appreciation and then moving to ever deeper and more profound levels, to the existential level. And here are the levels we're going to cover this week. Level 1, which we're going to start tomorrow morning, appreciating the basics. Level 2, appreciating beauty and love. Level 3, appreciating human accomplishment. Level 3, appreciating the wonder of our being. Level 5, appreciating our place in the universe. And level 6, appreciating our place in the present moment. And then we have a final, what we call sustained appreciation. We show you how to put all these together into a single practice that you can just continue practicing throughout this program. Okay, super exciting. So, any questions about that so far? You all set with that? Okay. So each day we're going to practice a different and unique level of appreciation, thereby gaining an ever deepening understanding and experience. Each morning, I'll post a short recorded teaching on our social media, sharing the day's level of practice, and then we'll practice it together throughout the day as a Sangha and share our experiences on our WhatsApp group. Your actual practice begins each morning by reviewing the day's level of practice in your program text and reciting the specific affirmations that will give you for each level. Then simply reflect on the prescribed objects of appreciation throughout the day. It's important to have an active approach to the practice, right? Don't do this passively. Get into it. Actually look around, seek out and recognize examples of the objects given, and look for things that you would take for granted, that you're not aware that you take for granted, right? Try to uncover these aspects of yourselves. Ponder the nature and value of the objects of appreciation with the aim of discovering new depths of understanding or rediscovering aspects that we take for granted. Reflect deeply enough to gain a felt sensation of warmth at your chest. This is important. We want you to get so deep each day in this that you can feel that appreciation at your chest. That's when you know it's working. That's when you know you've hit the mark. These insights and experiences slowly begin to shape our perceptions, resulting in a more balanced, holistic, and accurate worldview. So tomorrow morning, we're all going to begin level 1 together, appreciating the basics. These are things your mother taught you. Can you all hear your mother's voice in the background? You should be thankful you have a loving family, right? You should be thankful that you're getting a good education whenever I complained about school, or that you've got a good job or a roof over your head. And guess what? Our moms were right, weren't they? Our moms were absolutely right. And what were they trying to do? They were trying to awaken us, weren't they? Kids can just take so much for granted. And moms just, hey, open your eyes. Look how wonderful your life is. Don't take it for granted. So at level 1, objects of contemplation and appreciation include things like food, shelter, a healthy body, a loving family, friends, employment, education, etc., right? With sufficient practice, your mind should become more open and objective. with a broader way of looking at the world, which should feel grounding. Also, curiosity and wonder should begin to arise related to this new view. It's not important if you don't share all the examples given, for many of us may not have loving families, a healthy body, acceptable employment, adequate shelter, you name it. But you can feel free to substitute whatever of these you'd like for your own, whatever that might be. Although we might not share all of the surface level examples given, but as we go through the levels, all human beings share the deeper levels of appreciation. The affirmation for tomorrow's practice that you recite in the morning and throughout the day as needed is, oh, I have it here somewhere. Level 1 affirmation. Today, I begin to see beyond my narrow, self-absorbed perceptions, to realize the opportunity that my life has allowed and which I've long taken for granted. Today, I start to truly appreciate myself, my potential, and the good fortune I've known. Today, I set out to appreciate and see this truth in others. So the last line here, I like the idea of, let alone are we appreciating, we're practicing appreciation kind of towards ourselves, the things we get, what we appreciate, our own perception. But you can also turn it outwards and appreciate others and what they bring to us and things like that. Does anybody have any questions about tomorrow's practice of awakening through appreciation? Let me take that down. Miss Labdro?
I was just going to mention the intensity dial. Like sometimes I know in the past I've sort of got so appreciative it's become quite intense.
Oh,
you were saying to me, like, dial it down a bit.
wow, you're a good practitioner. So yeah, in this program, we often talk about an intensity dial, meaning that some of the practices, one of them being presence, sometimes if we practice it too strongly, we can kind of feel a bit vulnerable. I've heard of people practicing walking meditation, and they feel a little clumsy, or walking downstairs, they're not quite sure how to do it. Nevertheless, if you ever feel uncomfortable or vulnerable in any of the practices, think about having an adjustable intensity knob where you can just turn the practice down a little. So if you're like Kat, who's eating an ice cream cone and just weeping at the invention of ice cream, and could hardly eat it because she's in so of awe of this delicious dessert, you can turn it down a little bit and feel a little better. Thank you, Miss Lovejoy. And it's because you have so much wonderful things to be appreciative for in your life. Yeah. But I could see that happening with your child on your lap or something. Just the love that comes over you from really appreciating how fortunate you are that this little being is in your life. That could be really overwhelming. Yeah. Does everybody understand the practice? Pretty straightforward, huh? I have a couple extra minutes. One thing I didn't talk about was the origin of this. And I think it's a good story. So people would always ask me, oh, you're a monk, all this stuff, and I want to be happy. How do I become happy? And and to be honest, in Buddhism didn't give me a really good answer for it, because as I shared with you, uh, Buddhism, happiness is cultivated through an extended amount of time through the threefold training. It's not a simple thing that I can just tell somebody when I'm in line at the grocery store. And so for Buddhists, the whole cultivation of awakening, happiness, goodness, whatever you might say, are more extensive, right? They're they're longer practices that we slowly cultivate over a long amount of time. But clearly, when people were asking me how do I become happy, they wanted me to give them a little gem, that they could, a meme that would change their lives forever. And when people would ask me that, I really felt like I didn't have something to say. And I would think about little quotes from Buddhism, lose yourself in benefiting of others, and uh, and it kind of got me off the hook. But at some point, I thought, this question really deserves a better answer, and this is authentically an important thing to ponder. So I did just that, and I put a lot of time into it. I searched all the sutras trying to find, something that could just help regular folks, uh, and I really couldn't find much. Everything was, again, more of a long-term practice. And then at one point, whenever whenever I'm looking for answers, I always take it into my insight meditation on the cushion, where all the greatest answers come from. So I spent quite a bit of time, weeks or months, on the cushion, pondering this, and it occurred to me to look inward, and I thought, well, I'm a pretty happy guy. Where did I get this happiness? And clearly it was a lot of hours of practice. But as I looked deep inside myself, I noticed that a great deal of my happiness, joy, and contentment arises from this deep sense of acceptance and appreciation that I have. Even though there were never any practices of appreciation in my Buddhist studies. It was mentioned occasionally, appreciating human life, things like that. Um, and then I had the idea that I wonder if I could actually make kind of a shortcut to awakening through appreciation. And that's what led me to create this practice. And at the beginning it was just something experiment I was trying, but we've been teaching it now for about 6 years, and I think it's safe to say it really worked out quite nicely. I get a lot of mail from people that talk about this practice changing their lives, and I think, and for myself as well, my own practice has excelled so nicely as I practice this. So I practice this every day. And it's almost, I'm getting to the point now, it just never leaves me. And it almost gets kind of silly. Like I'll be sitting in a chair with a glass of water, and I'm just in awe of the clarity of this drink, and what it feels like in my mouth, and how it silkily and it smoothly slides down my throat and refreshes me. And it's kind of weird, but just, you can get to the point where just breathing, you start to appreciate every breath, and you start to bracket it, and you start to be amazed at each breath that, oh yeah, if I stop even one breath, I'm in trouble, right? So appreciation really becomes intense, and it leads to extraordinary happiness, right? Okay, enough of that. So I wanted to share that with y'all. Okay, any last questions from anybody? Are you guys ready to practice with me? So last week we learned about happiness, and we cultivated happiness. But I think it's kind of a bad sell, because what we really did, we told you how we cultivated the practice, the threefold path, and then we told you what happens when challenges arise. But that's not the same thing as really cultivating happiness. This week, we get to really cultivate happiness, and this is the best way to do so. Okay, if there aren't any questions, today we learned that appreciation is an amazing tool for cultivating happiness and joy, and that while generating positivity, it also creates great clarity and objectivity. I wonder if that's the greatest gift of all, is the clarity and objectivity into reality that appreciation grants. We defined appreciation as to fully understand the true nature, meaning, quality, magnitude, or value of something. And that appreciation helps us to see beyond our mundane, daily, limited perceptions and clearly realize the wonder of our experience. So again, tomorrow morning we'll begin level 1, appreciation the basics. You'll begin in the morning by watching your short pre-recorded teaching that I will post late tonight, so all you European Sangha members can get it first thing in the morning. You'll watch that. You'll review your day's level of practice in our program text. Then you can recite your level 1 affirmation for the day. I'll share all the slides. I recommend putting it on your phone so you can recite it whenever you need to during the day. Then you reflect on those prescribed objects of content of appreciation throughout your day. And let's try to stick with the levels, right? Oftentimes students get excited and they want to move forward. Give yourself a good week to really experience each one. And if you feel like you've exhausted it, you just haven't looked enough. You haven't opened your minds. You haven't looked around enough. Even appreciating the basics, there's so much to appreciate. Remember, we'll be practicing throughout the day as a Sangha, as well as meditating on the topics in our online meditations and sharing the experiences on our WhatsApp group. Then in tomorrow's class at 1900 UTC, that's going to be lesson 6, we'll meet and continue our exploration of practicing awakening through appreciation. And I'll let you know what level 2 involves. So this week, our main practice is awakening through appreciation. I recommend I recommend bringing each day's level of practice into your own insight meditation. That's the real trick to the program. Remember to continue practicing the threefold training as you have been, the development of higher understanding, higher virtue, and higher awareness. And when problems and challenges arrive, you have your para practice, the 4 steps of acceptance. Always remember, I'm a click away for help and support. Please take advantage of our WhatsApp group and share any questions, insight, or experiences you might have. This is a fun week to engage on WhatsApp and share with everybody else unusual things that you're appreciating. It really triggers things for other people, and it's fun to see all the different things that we discover in our appreciation. So with that said, let's end today's teaching with our altruistic affirmation. May all be healthy. May all be prosperous. May all be well. May all be present, free of past regret and future worry. May all abide in constant appreciation, which is the source of great joy and contentment. May all realize their true nature and the true nature of reality, which is awakening. I mentioned the first class of this program that altruistic affirmation is just going to start unfolding more and more. So the third line here, you probably started to notice, may all abide in constant appreciation, which is the source of great joy and contentment. So that's going to continue to unfold. Hey, thanks everybody for coming. Remember that our SPT community was created for one purpose, to support lovely people like you on your path to awakening. Bye-bye, friends.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tarpa.
Tarpa.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
everyone. Bye.